Yeah, what's up, Carla? Just getting started here. You're on the vertical tonight. What's up, Leah? Bear with me here. Nothing ever is perfect. There we go. See what happens. It's probably just random because I go live at the same time with both vertical and horizontal. And so you probably just click on the first one that you see. That doesn't really matter. In fact, I'm looking at my own phone, and the first one that comes up, it looks like to me, is the vertical. Maybe not. See. All right, let's go ahead and start.
Hey friends, it's me, Harry Enton, and today we're discussing how Democrats and why Democrats are in their strongest position in decades. I dare say it's a historic position heading into a midterm election. And if you stay tuned till the end, we'll talk about Donald Trump and how he's in a historic position as well and how that is fueling Democrats in the midterm opportunities. But let's start off with the economy, because as Jimmy Carville is fond of saying, it's the economy, stupid. And in the case of you, the audience, it's the economy, smarty pants. And this number really just jumps.
I think you can actually move over to the other one. So if you go to my channel, you should be able to see, because they should be like right next to each other. You should be able to see the horizontal stream right next door to the vertical. So if you want to move over to the other one, I think you can do that.
Off the screen, because take a look here. When you poll Americans on how they feel about the current and future economy, we get the worst ever consumer sentiment ever. And this measure has been taken since the mid 20th century. And of course, we are now in the 21st century. It is down, get this, 38% since the start of Trump's.
Well, I'll tell you that right now. I like Massey, and the only reason I like him is because he's really the only one at this point, along with him and Ro Khanna. And I think I've mentioned this before. Well, I know I've mentioned it before, but I'm not sure if you've heard me say it, that Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna were the only two that had any guts at all. And then I think Marjorie Taylor Greene, too, to pass the law to get the Epstein files released. And I think, and also not taking AIPAC money. So to me, I think a guy like Massey is someone who, I mean, he may not be perfect. And I know he didn't vote for the big, beautiful bill and all that kind of stuff, but there were particular reasons on why he didn't do it. And, I won't go into the details on that, but I think when you're not taking foreign money from AIPAC, from a lobbyist group tied to Israel, you go against the grain when it comes to voting for releasing the Epstein files. And he and Ro Khanna are really the only two that are doing that. I think that's huge, and that's what we need. And he made an enemy of the president. Well, he made an enemy of the president because he's doing the right thing. Let me fix something here. My chat is all messed up. So yeah, to me, I'm a huge fan of Massey, actually. Yeah, it's better. And you see what's going on now. I mean, it's Lee. I haven't been on for a little while, and you probably didn't hear. I don't think you were here yesterday, but look at the consumer sentiment. Donald Trump came out and specifically said that I don't care about Americans and their finances. That the number one thing, and they kept repeating this over and over again because it's a talking point. They have to keep repeating again and again. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. So you have to repeat the lie over and over again in order to make it sound like it as if it's the truth. And people are sick and tired of it. More and more people now are finally saying, I've had enough. I can't afford gas. I don't have health care. Food prices aren't coming down. Inflation really isn't coming down. I can't afford to buy a house. Nothing's working in my favor. You promised us, there's no mass deportations. You promised all these things. And now the number one goal is that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon while we all suffer. And so that's why the consumer sentiment is down. That's why his approval rating is the worst ever. So, but we need more Thomas Masseys. That's the problem. That's the thing that's demoralizing to me, is that we don't have enough of those people. And then Marjorie Taylor Greene resigned probably because, or she did mention that she was getting so many death threats, which in and of itself is terrible to hear. So it's sad.
Term all the way back in January of 2025, just a massive decline. And this is fueling Democrats. It's fueling Democrats on the most simple of questions. That is, you identify as a Democrat, Republican, Independent, etc. And when we allocate those independents, look at this, to the Democrats, Republicans. Democrats right now have a 13-point lead. A 13-point lead on Republicans on this most basic of measure. And when we look back at prior midterm cycles, at this point, this 13-point lead is bigger than any in at least 20 years. It even beats 2006 when Democrats...
And the other thing that Trump also said is, I don't care about the midterms. He said that yesterday when I played the cabinet meeting. Was it yesterday or I don't remember? Friday. I played the cabinet meeting, and he said that I don't care about the midterms. So, I mean, what do you say to that? I mean, at some point, if you're a supporter and you hear, I don't care about your finances, I don't care about the midterms, and then you see what's going on here, the Democrats are going to win the midterms. I mean, that's just the way, it's going to happen that way. And obviously Trump, he said, it's not me saying it, and it's not my opinion. This isn't me just coming up with something. He literally said, I don't care about the midterms. So what that means is that he doesn't care that he's going to lose or the GOP is going to lose in the midterms. He does not care. He said it. So what a time to be alive. I mean, would you ever believe in a million years that you would ever hear a president say those two things? I don't care about America's finances and I don't care about the midterms, after he ran on what he ran on. And can you believe that we live in a time, on top of that people are still in his corner? I mean, how could you ride or die with somebody who basically says, I don't care about you? I mean, it's like, to me, it's like a battered wife syndrome. I mean, at some point, do you just not say, okay, well, you're not in my corner, so why the hell am I going to be in yours? And I think that's happening. I think, you have a lot of loyalists that were trying to hang on as much as they can. The only ones I see on X are like the Jack Posobics and Cat Turds and Laura Loomers, even Steven Crowder's, Tim Pools. And we're going to get into one of them today, which is Patrick Bet-David. And Patrick Bet-David, if you don't know who he is, he's another one of these guys that's a major podcaster that's still in the corner of Donald Trump. And I know, and the main reason I'm sure of it, I can't prove it beyond any reasonable doubt, but it's my opinion that they're getting paid to say these things. Because why would you still not be critical of what's going on if you weren't getting paid? But this thing with Patrick Bet-David, let me know in the chat if you know who I'm talking about. But Patrick Bet-David is one of these guys who, he was involved with with an insurance company, a health insurance or a life insurance company. I'll get into it, but this is a whole other thing that I wanted to talk about tonight. That's really gotten on my nerves because the only ones that are left in Trump's corner are the ones that seemingly are getting paid. And they're the ones getting the attention on YouTube. And a guy like me gets zero attention. I used to get attention, a few years ago during the trucker protests when I'd get 1 million views on a video. And as soon as I got picked up by the algorithm, that was the end of me. Because if I tell the truth, I get suppressed. And that's why I need a lot of you that are listening to share this as much as you possibly can. Because my ads account's suspended. I'm in a loop. I can't get any help. I don't get anywhere near the traction I used to. I like doing this. I enjoy doing it because I'd be doing this anyway, so I might as well hang out with all of you while I'm watching all this stuff and get everybody else's opinion and kind of talk about it, which but at the same time, it gets suppressed because you tell the truth and you really are honest about things. It's amazing how your viewership goes down.
Easily took back the U.S. House of Representatives and gained 6 Senate seats, which if it happened this year, Democrats would be, that is perfect for us. We would take back the Senate as well. Now, when you look at this party ID lead, this is fueled.
Well, I did take a while. It took a few weeks, I don't know, like 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks off from streaming. The main reason why is because I have an insurance company. I have to spend a lot of time on that. That's the way I make a living, but even that's difficult. Oh, you were unsubscribed. See, that's what I'm talking about. See, that's what I'm talking about there is, that's not the first time I've heard that people have unsubscribed or they're not getting notifications. And so, that's why the super chats are important. And Carly, you've been a huge support, and Leah as well. But I know there's a lot of people who are regular followers, and even if you're off a little bit, it takes a while to get back. But in a lot of cases, like you're saying, people aren't even getting notified or even unsubscribed, and they're not unsubscribing. And that's the problem. You tell the truth, weird shit happens, and that's what's happening with me. It has been happening with me. And also, by the way, and then if you're not on Rumble, get on Rumble and subscribe to me there. So if you go to rumble.com/Dennis Hendrickson, you can, I stream there as well. Because at some point, YouTube, if they're gonna shut down my ads account and everything else, at some point they're gonna nuke my channel. So I'm doing everything I can to stream on alternative platforms, and Rumble is one of those. So yeah, it's crazy out there.
In part by the simplest of questions. What's the most important problem the country is facing in your mind, and who do you trust to solve it? Well, right now, Democrats, it's that same 13 points. It's that same 13-point lead that Democrats have over Republicans on which party they trust more to handle the top issue. And that, look at this. This really tells the story. Look at 2022. Republicans were trusted more by 11 points. More by 11 points. This is the inverse of that. This lead, this 13-point lead, look at, this green line. This is very similar to what we saw all the way back in 2006, which I said is exactly what Democrats want to happen, right? Take back not just the House, but take back the United States Senate as well. These figures, very similar, and this very much unlike anything else on your screen. But when you put it all together, the simplest of questions, who are you going to vote for? Democrats or Republicans in the midterms? Well, what are we dealing with? Well, at this point in midterm cycles, Democrats right now have a 7-point advantage, and that is, again, the strongest that they have had. You got to go all the way back to 2006 when Democrats held 11.
And that number, by the way, is going to continue to go up the longer this whole Iran thing draws out, because gas prices are still going to be too high. Obviously, nothing's going to happen on the front here in America when it comes to healthcare, lowering gas prices, making it cheaper for somebody to buy a home. That's not on the list at all. Mass deportation, all that's over with. So you can still, hope and dream that somehow something's going to change. But the president himself, in his own words, said, I don't give a F about you guys. Thanks for voting for me. Now I'm going to screw you over. And what are you going to do about it? That's what he said. So at some point, what do you think is going to happen? People are going to say, okay, well, if you don't care about me, I'm voting Democrat. That's just how it's going to go. You're forcing me to do this. At some point, I do have to leave. I can only take so much abuse to where I actually have to walk out the door or I'm over with. And so just give it more time as this continues. And it's not salvageable at this point anymore. When you make those kinds of comments that you don't care about American citizens in your own words, how do you recover from something like that? You can't.
Point lead. But this 7 points, look at this. It's more than double what Democrats had in 2018 when, of course, they were able to take back the U.S. House, gaining about 40 seats, maybe 41, depending on how you measure it. But the bottom line is you don't have to worry yourself with the details. That's my concern. But Democrats have a clear advantage on that. Now, I know what you're saying. Hey, Republicans have been doing all this redistricting, right? Especially in the South as of recent. Well, this 7-point lead, well, it overcomes, even with the redistricting, it overcomes that barrier. Because take a look at Democrats in the National House vote margin. Right now, their lead, 7 points. What is needed in order to take back the U.S. House with redistricting? You need only a 3-point advantage. Hold on, I'm getting a little parched right here. Maybe someone could hand me a soda. What? Oh, there it is. Last week we were going into the colas or cola-like. I don't know what Dr. Pepper exactly is. This is anything but that. This is an A&W zero sugar cream, which is honestly one of my favorites. Let's take a... Oh, yeah. That vanilla cream goodness really does stretch out. One more for the road.
These are the same idiots that said MAGA is in Trump's corner literally 100%. So you have to take a lot of this stuff with a grain of salt. But I tend to believe these numbers more than I do, the other number at 100%, because it's inevitable. When you shit all over your voters and the American people, what are they going to do? They're going to go somewhere else.
Fantastic. Anyway, as I was saying, Democrats right now running well ahead of where they need to be, even controlling for redistricting in terms of the U.S. House vote. Now, the other key factor, right, is it's one thing to have a lead, but if you're not going to show up and vote, what difference does it make? And this tells the story. Absolutely certain to vote in November. Democrats, 75% of them, when you include the leaners, say that they're absolutely certain to turn out and vote in this midterm election. Republicans, it's just 67%. Now, this is an 8-point advantage, which is very, very important, because essentially what that means is you can take that House lead that Democrats have, and if the likely voters, the actual voters, match this absolutely certain to vote in November, that means that lead would be even larger. I feel like I'm in the movie Airplane. Larger. Anyway, I'm not sure if that's exactly quite right, but it's how I remember it.
This guy's annoying.
But this 8-point lead is historic. It's historic. This is why I keep saying that Democrats are in a historic position heading into the midterm elections. And it is because of this. Take a look here. Okay, leading and certain to vote pre-midterms about this point in the cycle. You'll notice a lot of the other slides had a lot of Democratic numbers on there, right? This one is mostly all red. That's because Republicans have historically been the ones who are more likely to turn out and vote. But as that Democratic anger has risen with what's going on in Washington, as the coalitions have changed, as the Democratic coalition has become more tilted towards college-educated voters who are more likely to turn out, this is the first midterm cycle at this point in the cycle that I could find in which Democrats say they are more likely to turn out and vote than Republicans. So again, that is supercharging. What that...
And then what's going to happen, this is what's going to happen. You're going to have a lot of demoralized GOP voters that are not going to go and vote. And I hear it from a lot of people. They're just like, I'm just not going to vote. But I think you're going to have a very unusual large number of people who are Republicans that are going to vote Democrat, just to stick it to the GOP. And I know firsthand when it came to the first Trump election, where those who were running the Jeb Bush deal, they thought for sure that Jeb Bush had it locked down. Like they weren't worried at all. They thought it was like an easy win for them, that there was no possible way that Trump was going to win. What that tells you, and that's the same thing here right now with what goes on, these politicians are so out of touch, and purposefully they're out of touch because they, like I said, they don't care. But they're so far out of touch that it shows how ignorant they are ultimately, and how these are, people who really aren't smart enough to even be in politics or be as rich as they are. And I've said this a million times, just because they're billionaires and just because they're rich, it doesn't make them smart. But they actually believe that somehow they're going to win anyway. And what they don't understand is there's a large number of Republican voters that are so angry and pissed off at what happened to them that they're going to actually vote Democrat. And I guarantee you, is it Nancy Wiles who was running the campaign for Trump? The people around him don't realize that. They don't get it. The only other person I hear about talking about this is Nick Fuentes, is talking about how the Groypers and his followers and all them are going to be voting Democrat. But I think there's going to be a lot more people who aren't talking about it, that are silent, that are going to end up voting Democrat because of what was said to them directly by Donald Trump.
Democratic lead actually is on the generic ballot. That 7-point lead might actually be 8, 9, 10 points when we're talking about likely voters. Now, at the beginning of this segment, I teased that we're going to talk about Donald Trump, right, and how he is supercharging this. Well, one way in which Donald Trump is absolutely supercharging this is when you just look at his ratings. Look at this. Term 2 Trump approval ratings low. All of these within the last 2 weeks, at least at the time that we taped this wonderful little thing. If you're watching it later on, I can't promise, I can do a lot of things, but I can't actually bend time and gravity and space, etc. Look at this. Quinnipiac, 34%. Ipsos, 35%. New York Times, 37%. CBS News, 37%. Fox, 39%. The bottom line is, across the board, Donald Trump is at historic lows for his second term in all of them, sub 40%. Now, why is this sub 40% so important? Because who are the other presidents who are sub 40% at this point
Nixon.
in their second term? Well, there are only two that I could find.
Yeah.
Only two that I could find. Richard Nixon in 1974, which of course was the height of Watergate. You had George W. Bush, when of course the Iraq War was absolutely draining on him back in 2006. Both of these cycles, well, you know what they featured? They featured massive Democratic gains. 2006, we mentioned it before, it keeps popping up in all these. That's a very, correlation isn't necessarily causation, but in this case, Democrats absolutely love that correlation. And of course, in 74, Democrats had massive gains in both the Senate and the U.S. House of Representatives. And of course, then Jimmy Carter was able to take back the White House 2 years later. Will a Democrat take back the White House 2.5 years from now? We're not to the midterms quite yet. Who's really to say? But at this point, these are the types of historical comparisons that Democrats absolutely have to love. So we've gone through the simple question, which is why Democrats are in a historic position. Why don't you leave a comment in the comments section? We'll see if there's something in there that we really like, and perhaps we will do it on this next go around between you and me, my dear friends. Until then, cheers.
Yeah, so ultimately we'll see what happens, but I think, things aren't going to change. And the way things are happening with the Iran war, there's new news today that talks have fallen apart again. I mean, this just has been dragging on now for 90 plus days. We're told first that the war's over, then the war's not over. The Strait of Hormuz is closed, but no, it's not closed. We don't care about whether it's closed or not. We've sunk their Navy. It's going to be over. It's a little excursion. It's not a war. It's a conflict. I mean, every single day you're just being lied to. And even those people who just were idiots are starting to realize something's not right here. How many times am I going to hear the same story? And it just keeps, repeating itself over and over again, and nothing's happening. But yet at the same time, my gas prices are high. My food prices are high. Inflation's still high. I still can't afford to buy a house. I still have shitty health care. I still see a bunch of people that don't belong here that are here. I don't see any mass deportations. I'm still seeing crimes being committed. And we're going to talk about this particular incident here. This guy ran a $300 million scam, telling investors, he was in Orlando, that they can get 8 to 10% on crypto. And people actually multimillionaires bought into this and thought that they could literally get an 8 to 10% return, not annually, but monthly. And this is what I'm talking about, where you say, oh, okay. These people that are investors, they're multimillionaires, so they must be really smart. There's no such investment that makes 6 to 10% consistently per month. It doesn't exist. It's absolutely insane. But this guy got away with it for quite a while, scammed a lot of people, but then decided, and I don't know if you're familiar with CoffeeZilla or not, let me know in the chat if you are, but CoffeeZilla he got involved in all this, and I'm going to play the other videos related to Patrick Bet-David, because Patrick Bet-David is connected to this guy. But this guy he has an ankle bracelet on. I believe he's been indicted. But he decided, he didn't even tell his lawyers, but he decided he was going to have an interview with the local news and basically spill the beans on everything. So let's get started. There's a few videos on this. So I'm going to first kind of get into the whole scam itself and how that developed, and then get into the Patrick Bet-David angle of it. And once again, this is the thing that drives me insane, because Patrick Bet-David's worth, tens of millions of dollars, has an unbelievably popular podcast, is involved in the politics and all the stuff that I talk about. But yet, here's the guy, and when you see what's gone down and what his background is, these are the popular people on YouTube. They're the ones getting all the views.
The worst guy just made a big mistake. Recently, we exposed a $300 million scam called Goliath Ventures on CoffeeZilla just a couple days ago. And the CEO has just now decided to do a tell-all interview with a news company. And here's the exact moment I knew I was in for something special.
He agreed to speak with me without even telling his attorneys.
He's speaking to the press without talking to his lawyers. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but that's
the height of arrogance. I mean, you have to hand it to the guy. I mean, if you're going to go down, I guess you're going to go down in flames. But that's also, it is pretty remarkable that this guy has that kind of balls to do this.
Is the shortcut to giving your defense attorney a heart attack.
He told me he knows he is going to prison for a long time.
Look, yes, he's definitely going to jail regardless. But this gives the prosecutors a slam dunk case, and it's going to make the options for a plea agreement, in my view, way harder. So the obvious question is, why do this? It's pretty clear once you start watching the interview. He thinks he's going to convince everyone that he was just kind of a guy with good intentions.
Are you ready to take responsibility?
That was the whole point of this, was not only to show people.
And by the way, when they show he's in the house that he bought, like this multi-million-dollar house, he still has all of his cars. And I don't want to spoil it, but it's unbelievable to me. The guy is under house arrest in the house that he bought with all of the ill-gotten gain, with the cars and everything else. This is crazy.
And to tell people, from beginning to end what had happened, but to allow me to tell them directly for me. how sorry I am.
That's right. He's trying to hit you with the old razzle dazzle. The same guy who sued a journalist who rightfully called him out for running a scam. The same guy who's been lying for years to investors and lost them all of their money by running a Ponzi scheme until the exact moment he got arrested is now saying, hey guys, really sorry about that. And it's gonna backfire spectacularly in this interview. But before we get to that, I wanna get into the psychology of Christopher Delgado. You know, this is the same guy who says he has a gift for people being attracted to him.
My God-given gift was that people are attracted to me. People just naturally gravitate towards me.
Little does he know that's because he was offering something that was too good to be true.
Right.
But this reporter, Darlene Jones, I have to give her the biggest shout out. I mean, she did an incredible job teasing out of this guy all of these amazing moments. And a lot of it is not like something he says. It's just how he carries himself. This interview comes off so unhinged because we are going to be doing the tell-all I'm sorry interview from a mansion.
He's wearing an ankle monitor confined to his 11,000 square foot estate, bought last year with Goliath investors' cash.
Like literally from a mansion when your constituents, the victims of your scam, can't even afford groceries, right? Lost everything they have. And you're saying sorry from an 11,000 square foot home.
Inside of his $8 million Isleworth mansion, Christopher Delgado wears an ankle monitor right next to his Hermes sandals that retail for about $1,000. He's surrounded by luxury clothes, cars, and comfort.
This is an actual one of 2 Louis Vuitton pool tables.
She's doing him so dirty. Starting the interview with the Hermes sandals. He's wearing an ankle monitor next to the thing that costs $1,000. Cut to luxury car.
I mean, I didn't even know they would have Louis Vuitton pool tables.
Oh no, Chris, this was a massive, massive mistake for you, buddy. This is not a good move. You know, this is good reporting right here. She's teasing it all out of him. She knows how this looks. She just has to stand there and act, is this your nice pool table? And he goes right along with it.
This is an actual one of 2 Louis Vuitton pool tables.
A friendly tip for all of you criminals out there. If you ever get caught, if a reporter is ever coming to your house and you are under charges, do not show them your one of 2 pool table. They don't actually care. It is not the time to be showing them your gold-rimmed Lamborghini. If you're interviewing me and I just did a $300 million Ponzi scheme, you're going to interview me from a box, okay? I ain't going to be from...
Yeah, I think that's true, but I don't think it's going to matter because he's going to end up in jail for a long time. So, you know, it's going to get foreclosed on.
My house? No. Meet me under the bridge. We're not going to be shooting pool at a one of 2 Louis Vuitton billiards table. Now, some of you might be wondering why? Why not brag about what he has? Well, obviously, it looks bad from the perspective of the people who have nothing because of this guy. But also, and just way more to the point, it makes it much harder to answer questions like this one.
What happened to their money that should have been sitting in an account?
Their money was being used to make distributions.
To who?
To either them or other investors.
And what else did you use the money for?
I mean, we used it for corporate events. We used it for personal spend.
This guy gave it to charity, too. Can you imagine? You're a charity, you get all this money, and this stuff happened during the Madoff days. There's all this stuff going on in the Bernie Madoff days. So, you know, these charities end up taking the money and then they end up having to give it back.
Brother, you are sitting in the place where everyone's money was spent. The problem with showing first your Lamborghini and one of 2 pool tables is when they ask you, well, where did the money go? You can't really say, well, I sent it to Joe and Bob. You're literally surrounded by the wealth of other people that doesn't belong to you. And we see this all the time. You know, I try to tell people, do not flex online, okay? If you're gonna commit crime, I feel like this is a masterclass on criminal PR. It's not supposed to be. When you see somebody fumble it this bad, you go, didn't anyone teach you this at school? I mean, I see this literally all the time. You know, this is just a DOJ thing that happened today, okay? This is a guy named Brett Blackman, and he took a photo of himself like this. Like, you don't think someone's gonna show up to your house one day, knocking on the door, asking you questions about where the money went, and they show you this picture. Where did the money go? Like, you have no way out. I mean, where did the 11,000 square foot mansion you're sitting in that moment come from? Who thought of doing this here? And the answer, I really think, is Chris. Something that makes him so unlikable from the second he got arrested was that he continued this frame of like, I'm super rich. I mean, when he left the courthouse, originally when he gets arrested, right? This is the big moment, Mr. I'm so sorry. He leaves the courthouse in a Rolls Royce. So he's been doing this, I'm a high roller from the get-go. So although I think this reporter did a good job of highlighting the ridiculous contrast between Chris Delgado's actions, what he was doing versus his words, I do think this is just inherent to Chris's own psychology, wanting to still be a top, wealth guy. I now want to...
Now keep in mind on the poll for reference that these are people that are technically, and I don't know it with 100% certainty, but I'm pretty darn sure, because I've worked with these people in the past, is that they're not institutional investors. I can't think of the name, but they have a certain net worth in order to qualify to be an investor in this Delgado investment. And so they should theoretically have enough knowledge to know that if somebody comes to you and says, I can give you 8 to 10% returns every month, but not annually, that you would look at it and say, well, wait a minute, that's impossible. Like, nobody has that kind of return. Like, what's the catch here? But these people didn't say anything. They just, in a lot of these cases, are greedy and just said, oh, okay, well, and a lot of them too, what ends up happening is they see the Rolls Royce, they see the Lamborghini, they see the big house, and they look at it and they automatically believe that because he has all these things that he's automatically successful. And so he must be doing something right. And this is what I'm talking about when it comes to these other streamers that I was mentioning it last week, was the QAnon guys, like the Phil Godlewskis. He's driving around in a Rolls Royce and a private jet and everything else, and has this investment when it comes to this crypto stuff, and it's not Bitcoin. And so you look at these things and go, all you can do is you just shake your head and just say, what are you doing? So to me, I don't feel bad for them, because you should have done a better job of your due diligence on figuring out whether or not this investment was bullshit or not.
Zoom in on one of his core claims in all of this. He says that, it just happened to be a Ponzi scheme. I didn't really intend it to be a Ponzi scheme. You hear this a lot from scammers and fraudsters. They say, look, I meant well. I just lied and stole and cheated along the way.
We had so much inflow coming in, and we knew that we had the cash to cover, and we knew once our product launched that we could have right or wrong, and no one would have ever known.
The very definition of what you just described is a Ponzi scheme.
They always say that.
But I also think a Ponzi scheme has intent. Knowingly raising money, knowingly building it as a fraud. That's what everyone's missing here.
No, it's not actually what we are missing. As you've seen from our own report, Christopher Delgado was already previously involved in a Ponzi scheme. He claims that, I was just going to launch my product any day now. I had to just do these Ponzi tactics on the way. When you lie about actually having a working product, when you don't put stuff in liquidity pools, when you say you are putting it in liquidity pools, that is fraud. I mean, you intentionally deceived people. Nobody is gonna feel bad for you, but especially nobody's gonna feel bad for you, thankfully, because you are out of touch. You are arrogantly parading around your wealth that literally does not belong to you. It belongs.
But that was a strategy on his part to do that. And he knew, and that's where you have to give this guy credit. He knew that's how humans work. The human psychology works that way. If he parades around in a Rolls Royce and Lamborghini and shows off all this wealth, that it tricks these people into thinking that he knows what he's doing when it comes to the investment. So he did it on purpose. So to say that this guy's just parading wealth around was a strategy. He wasn't just doing it. He was doing it arrogantly, but at the same time, there was a strategy involved, and it worked very, very well.
Belongs to the victims who enabled your lifestyle for so long while you said, oh, I had great intentions. I was going to turn it around one day. For now, he will just steal your money. So I think this was a huge exposing of himself and the delusion of a guy who was chasing money at all costs, who ultimately does not have a lot of empathy for the victims here. If he did, you're not driving home from the court in a Rolls Royce, right? You're not bragging about your Louis Vuitton pool table. But there is a bright spot to this whole thing where I think Chris does make a good point. I think not all is lost. Not all was just a complete failure to communicate here. Because I think one thing Chris is angling for is to get his co-conspirators in trouble. Like, obviously, he's not gonna say he's not guilty. Clearly, he's pleading out. But as he's the top man, what can you really do? Well, you can get your co-conspirators in trouble. And I think that's relevant here. He did not work alone. And so I really do hope they go after some of these co-conspirators.
Federal investigators say Delgado and his co-conspirators solicited investors under false and fraudulent promises of monthly returns, which were sometimes presented as guaranteed or low risk. We are not naming the alleged co-conspirators because they are not named in this complaint. But Delgado told us he shared their roles with the feds.
Yeah, I think it's obvious that in any scheme this large, there are other people. And, one problem I see with our justice system is oftentimes the guy at the very top goes down and everyone else sort of gets off light. I obviously don't think that should happen here. A lot of people went after the retirees. A lot of people had to go get those investors money. They should be held accountable too for the people who knew it was a Ponzi scheme this whole time. They should obviously face justice. So that is the one part where I'm kind of rooting for Chris to turn in his co-conspirators. I'm yeah, they should go down too. But I don't think this whole ploy to get off easier or to make himself look good is going to work because it's just so transparent. If you were actually sorry, you wouldn't have stolen the money. If you actually had good intentions, you wouldn't have done a Ponzi scheme. And most importantly, if you're going to actually take accountability for your actions, you wouldn't have sued Danny DeHack, the journalist who started reporting on this early on, right? But of course, that's not what happened. Now, I want to directly confront and expose one of the biggest lies that Delgado says in this piece, where basically he says, look, it all would have worked had our product come out in time, right? He says, look, we were working on this product. Wasn't supposed to be a Ponzi scheme. Here it is.
Delgado tells us Goliath was trying to develop its own crypto product that would have taken over as a real investment.
But just kept getting delayed.
So a Louis Vuitton pool table, take a guess on how much that is. Don't look it up because I already did.
And delayed. But in these delays, we are now a rocket ship.
And you continue to take investors.
We didn't have any choice.
Why didn't you just say no?
I think it's easy for someone to sit on the outside. It's hard to do that in the moment.
Yeah, it's easy to sit on the outside because most people don't lie to their investors. And you have to understand, so much of what he says is dishonest here. Here's the actual thing they were selling to people. This is a screenshot from one of their marketing materials.
115 grand, but it's crazy. 115,000 bucks.
They have the capital flows of Goliath. This was their actual product he's talking about. He's saying, we were going to build this product. This is what they were pitching, okay? Right here. You send in the money, it goes to this liquidity pool, right? That's not something you need to develop. That can be done right away. I can use a liquidity pool, in 2 seconds right now. So this whole idea that there was this magic, doohickey that they were going to develop that was going to allow them to do the thing they said they were going to do is just a lie. The truth is, what they were promising was impossible. There was no liquidity pool invention that they were going to do. First of all, liquidity pools are already a thing. Second of all, none of them offer the kinds of returns that they were claiming
they already exist, but they don't offer those types of returns
they were making. So I just hope everyone can see through this transparent lie by Chris Delgado, where he says, oh, I just was about to finish making the product. No, you were not. We know what you were promising investors. We know that the real problem was that you were promising them too much money. And you know, the saddest part about this is the fact that retirees got swept into this. But another part that just breaks my heart is that there are actually charities that Chris Delgado was hugely involved in. All of that money is likely going to have to be clawed back.
Yeah, the records we have also show Goliath Ventures donated about $5.1 million to charity, schools, and foundations across our area.
By the way, that's another thing that tricks people into believing that he's legit. And a lot of people don't talk about this. You know, this is the kind of stuff that's written about in books where, okay, so the guy is rolling around in a Rolls Royce, Lambo, you know, 20 to 50,000 square foot house, whatever. But then he's donating all of this money to charity, which and by the way, this is investor money. This isn't money that he's making and putting into the charities. Somebody's investing, he's taking that money and then he's putting it into a charity. And then he looks as if he's this charitable guy, this wonderful guy. So it's part of the whole scheme. And once again, tricks these investors into believing that he's this wonderful guy. But again, I could sort of see you maybe falling for that. But you take one look at this dude and it's like, okay, this guy's got slime all over him. I mean, there's no way I'm trusting this dude at all. And then on top of it, once again, these people should know better that you don't make 8 to 10% monthly returns on any investment. It just doesn't exist at all. And so, once again, it's hard for me to feel bad. Even if you're a retiree and you gave all this money to this guy, then you're just greedy because you think that you're going to make 8 to 10%. And this shit happens all the time. All the time. I mean, you just heard about the Bernie Madoff one, but you know, this one's big. There was another one, I think, in Florida that was pretty big, in Miami. This stuff happens constantly. And what's frustrating is that it's like, how the hell do these people even have money to invest in the first place? I don't understand. How? And it just...
We have confirmed, Martha and Greg, some have actually received subpoenas related to those funds.
In these big Ponzi cases, you have to go after everyone who received the false profits from, you know, the victims who ultimately are the source of the funds. So the sad conclusion to this story is that it's very likely that some of the charities that he was laundering his reputation through are now going to have to face, you know, legal action to try to get some of this money back. So yeah, that's just unfair for them. They might have already spent the money, but it's also not fair to the victims who've lost the money in the first place. It's just a kind of total disaster. And to see this guy wearing an ankle monitor in Hermes shoes, to see him driving his Rolls Royce from the courthouse, it just displays someone who's so unbelievably out of touch. Sure, I can agree that his co-conspirators should face more accountability, but when I see him
when I say out of touch, no different than our politicians, am I right?
talking, I see a guy who's just still making excuses and still trying to minimize exactly what actually happened here. But ultimately, I think Darlene Jones did a great job of exposing that. So hats off to her. I'm, of course, going to link both of her news reports below. You can go check them out. And thanks for watching.
Okay, so that's the scheme. That's the scammer. So now we're going to get into, we talked about how that money in this video, how the money went to these charities and how the whole thing went down. But this, and by the way, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I'm going to. Because for the longest time, I knew about Patrick Bet-David. I knew his background. I'm in the insurance industry. I own my own insurance company. Now, I don't do life insurance. His was a life insurance company. Mine's property, casualty, and health. But the way that you run an insurance company is you have an insurance company, you have employees, you can pay them draws or salaries or whatever, but you pay them, and then they bring in insurance business and they get paid a salary. Well, he didn't run his company that way. He ran it like a multi-level marketing company. The best way that I could describe that is like an Amway. So if those of you that are familiar with Amway or multi-level marketing, let me know in the chat. But it's basically a pyramid type thing where the people at the top who started usually make all the money. They get people down below to pay them money in order to buy the product and then try and sell the product. And then, people below you, that's where a lot of these people end up making the money. And CoffeeZilla is going to get into describing this a little bit better. And if we have time tonight, I'll go into the longer video of him confronting Patrick Bet-David way in the past about this whole thing. But not a lot of people know about Patrick Bet-David's history. And the history that a lot of people made money at the very top of his so-called insurance company, but a lot of people at the bottom didn't make money. And there were a lot of pissed off people. But of course, their voices fell silent because this guy parlayed it into becoming this huge podcaster, becomes immensely popular and an authority on a bunch of shit that he shouldn't be an authority on.
Quick update before you watch this video. There is a follow-up where I actually got a hold of Patrick Bet-David. So in this video, you'll see that I asked to talk to him multiple times. He did not respond until right before I uploaded the video. I tweeted about it. He got in my DM, says he actually does want to talk. So you can hear him address all the allegations I'm about to bring up in this video, and you can decide for yourself what you think of Patrick Bet-David's response. So I've been waiting for Patrick Bet-David to reply to this Goliath story where he reportedly got a huge payment from a Ponzi schemer, and I want to know if they're going to pay it back. It's just as simple as that. I want to know if they're going to apologize for their role in legitimizing a...
So just like Grant Cardone and Patrick Bet-David and a lot of these guys, a lot of them make money on having these huge events. So what they'll do is they'll sell tickets to a big stadium, and it'll be thousands of dollars for tickets. And then everybody wants to be there because they think they're going to learn something from these fuckers. And somehow they're going to end up rich because they're going to listen to Patrick Bet-David or Grant Cardone or any of these people tell them shit that they can learn, by reading a book. But again, all of this stuff is a scheme and a scam, all the way around. But Patrick Bet-David has one of these annual events, and of course, what does he do? He gets these multi-million-dollar sponsors to come in and give money, and then on top of that, ticket sales. So these guys are just raking in the dough, just raking it in because of their name and their popularity on YouTube. And so Goliath Ventures, this guy that we just watched that ran the Ponzi scheme, was a title sponsor for one of these events for Patrick Bet-David. So that gives you a little bit of a background on this.
Total scammer, which hasn't been done yet as far as I'm aware. I reached out to the PBD organization, Patrick Bet-David personally. It's been about a week. I haven't heard back, so I have to talk about it. Now, if you don't know the full lore, let me bring you up to speed really quick. Goliath Ventures was a Ponzi scheme that took in over 320.
Don't get me started on Andrew Tate and how that whole thing started. That's for another one.
$1 million of regular people, retirees, business owners' money under the promise of making them multiple percents per month. We made a CoffeeZilla video about it recently. Christopher Delgado recently talked to the press here without his lawyer present, and we reported this back in October to federal authorities, and about 6 months later, Christopher Delgado was officially arrested.
The Justice Department says the 34-year-old scammed investors out of $328 million through his company, Goliath Ventures.
Meaning we're not...
Can you believe that, though? $300 million. This guy was able to raise that kind of money. I mean, it is astounding. astounding, that number. And this guy was able to pull it off. I mean, you have to look at something like that and just go, you just shake your head. You just can't, how is this even possible? It's absolutely insane money.
No longer
Carla, thank you so much for the super sticker. Thanks for the super sticker. I appreciate it, Carla. Thank you for your support very much.
Speculating here. He has been formally charged. He's even admitted a lot of this in interviews.
So what happened to their money that should have been sitting in an account?
Their money was being used to make distributions.
To who?
To either them or other investors.
And what else did you use the money for?
I mean, we used it for corporate events. We used it for personal spend.
So this goes way beyond the oh, it's just allegations, bro. Like, Christopher Delgado has confessed to a lot of this behavior. And where Patrick Bet-David comes into all of this is because he was a huge form of social proof for Christopher Delgado to seem legit. His entire organization kind of made this guy mainstream.
Goliath Ventures, founded in 2019. Goliath Ventures is a global private equity firm focused on blockchain, founded by Chris Delgado. It's built on 3 pillars: technology, opportunity, and community.
And this is why I reached out to Patrick Bet-David and his team.
And by the way, so that answers some of the question of why this guy was able to get so many investors, is because a lot of people trust Patrick Bet-David, unfortunately.
To get no response. I'm expecting some accountability here. Our story starts in 2025 when this guy, Christopher Delgado, is on stage at the Patrick Bet-David Vault Conference. He was the title sponsor for them, and he used it as an opportunity to kind of pitch himself.
I could make passive income for myself, raise my family, and basically enjoy life.
Now, even when you go to Patrick Bet-David's own summary, you can see Goliath in this video, in their own highlight reel, where they are the title sponsor, Goliath Ventures. They're apparently on the lanyard. Right here, you can see Goliath Ventures, Inc. signed on as the title sponsor to the Vault 2025 conference. And they even made like a pitch video of why you should be a brand sponsor of the Vault conference.
More than 2,000 CEOs lead teams of 75 plus employees. They come from around the world to grow, scale, and do business. And they don't just attend, they engage. Last year, 85% interacted with sponsors on site. The response from attendees was overwhelmingly positive.
So it's pretty clear what Vault is pitching. Hey, we'll give you access to this, entrepreneurship conference, these attendees. You pay us, we'll get you hooked up with them. And that's exactly what Goliath Ventures did. Now, when you go to the Vault Conference sponsorship tier, you can see they advertise the benefit of the title sponsorship right here. Get an MGM strip marquee signage, a 40 by 40 foot booth, brand badging, that's what we just saw, on-site attendee email list. I guess you can email them if you want. Main stage moment with Patrick Bet-David, marketing, hard post on socials, PBD podcast shout out. I think that's one of the big ones. Patrick Bet-David's podcast reaches millions of people. And true to his word, he pushed Goliath like a lot.
Fall Conference this year is brought to you by Goliath Ventures. The title sponsor of this entire event is Goliath Ventures, founder Chris Delgado. We've spent a lot of time with these guys. They've come to Yankees games with us. They've been coming to Vault conferences for the last God knows how many years. Goliath Ventures, founded in 2019. Goliath Ventures is a global private equity firm focused on blockchain, founded by Chris. You can go search them, Goliath Ventures, Inc.com, to learn more about them. They'll be at the Vault conference all over the place.
Yeah, he said those guys would be all over the place, and he was right. Now, before, we didn't really know exactly.
And by the way, Tony Robbins is another one of those guys who, these are people who sell sales. Okay. They don't sell it. Like, Tony Robbins has never really done anything other than sell tapes on, positive thinking and all this other shit. He's never really run anything. So here's another guy whose entire life, and another sponsor or whatever it is at this thing. And so this is the economy that we have, especially on YouTube these days, is that it's people selling sales, not how to start a legitimate business, manufacturing company or, something of substance, but selling sales. That's what I always call it. They're selling sales. Ty Lopez, same thing. I'm going to teach you how to sell something, even though I haven't done it. Dave Brothers, same thing. What have they ever run other than cam girls? And so, this is the thing that's frustrating is every time you go on YouTube now and you watch the video, somebody's trying to sell you how to sell somebody else. That's all it is. And then YouTube, you tell the truth about something, they suppress you and suspend your freaking ad account.
How much this cost? We knew it must be significant, but this was used as a huge social proof that Christopher Delgado was someone to be trusted. After all, presumably not just anyone can be a title sponsor of this prestigious entrepreneurship event, right? This was brought up by this guy who interviewed Christopher Delgado, basically, hey, you're friends with, Patrick Bet-David.
On social media, I follow him very closely. The private jet. You see the celebrities. You see Patrick Bet-David standing next to you at the Yankee Stadium. Where you come from a trailer park.
So here's Patrick Bet-David, who's a part owner of the Yankees, which is, I'm sure it's fractional. But see, that's the other thing. So, all of these guys, they all just sort of feed off of each other. And here you have Delgado hanging out with Patrick Bet-David. Patrick Bet-David hasn't figured this out. Here's a guy who talks about selling people on his programs and his things. He didn't know that 8 to 10% monthly return was totally fucking impossible. He didn't know.
Oh, who is that? You see Patrick Bet-David. He's being used clearly as hey, Christopher Delgado is rubbing shoulders with the right guys, okay? So imagine my surprise. All of this unwinds, Christopher Delgado gets arrested, $328 million Ponzi scheme. It was all a lie. The Vault 2025 #1 title sponsor was a big fraud that was trying to steal people's money. And then I see this on a Channel 9 Investigates segment. This is Darlene Jones. Guess who we see come up as one of the big payments that Goliath Ventures made?
$1 million to this long list of organizations across Central Florida. Some of the largest donations went to Equity Estates, Bet-David Consulting.
Look at that, 1 million smackies to go be the title sponsor at the Vault conference, or at least that's what it looks like. Maybe he was just paying for this photo. I don't really know. And my key question to the Patrick Bet-David group, to Valuetainment, is are y'all paying that money back? You shouldn't be letting yourself be used as social proof for a Ponzi scheme. I would think that would be a bad thing. I would think that would be a problem. I'd think that's be something you would address if they're your title sponsor, 2025, $1 million. You'd think you'd want to put that to bed immediately and say, hey, we don't want this basically blood money. So that was my question to Patrick Bet-David, among others. I said, hey, Patrick, I'm reaching out because the title sponsor of last year's Vault conference was a fraud. Wanted to ask you for comment about this as I would likely address it in more detail. I asked him, how well he knew Chris Delgado, if he's planning to return the revenue for the sponsorship to the Ponzi scheme victims. And this is an important point because I said, seems like even charities Goliath sent money to may be asked to turn the money over. So this is a very sad aspect of this Ponzi scheme is Christopher Delgado, part of what he used as social proof was that he was also donating to charities like Runway to Hope. And reportedly, some of those organizations are gonna actually have to return the money back. Like they're going to have to claw that money back to give it to the Ponzi scheme victims, which is really sad.
It's really horrible. That's probably one of the worst parts. So Kids Beating Cancer is one of them that was on that list. So this guy, and it just goes to show you the thought process or lack thereof of somebody like this who's willing to take investor money. There's a lot of people at fault here. Obviously, the guy who's running the scheme and the people under him that are involved. I partially blame the investors because then this guy wouldn't have a scheme if the investors didn't give him money and did a little bit of due diligence. But then they give him Delgado their money. Delgado takes that money, gives it to charity, Patrick Bet-David's one thing, but they give it to charity. The charity spends it on, whatever it is, medicine, supplies, things like that to run their charity. They've already spent that money. How do they get that money back? I don't care about Patrick Bet-David. He could figure that out. He could sell his ownership in the Yankees to get that money back. Or whatever it is that he has to do. But a charity is a completely different scenario. That just goes to show you the type of person you're dealing with. And that's why he went on that news thing and had no problem talking about it. Because these people, whatever it is, their brains are wired differently. Like if I went to somebody and I said, "Can you give me $1 million to buy a piece of commercial property?" I would never, even in a million years, take it and give it to buy a house with it. Because I know ultimately what's going to happen. Ultimately, it's going to collapse. I'm going to end up going to jail. That's going to be the end of it. But a guy like that doesn't even think. It's like, and a lot of these people don't think 15 minutes out ahead. They don't think, a year or 2 or 5 years. They could barely think 15 minutes ahead of them. But at the same time, they're able to convince these multimillionaires to give them money to invest up to $300 million or more. It's insane.
Given that most of them probably spent the money. I'm guessing these charities need the money a lot more than Patrick Bet-David does. So, I think it's pretty important he addresses whether they're going to give the money back. We haven't heard back. I reached out also via email, hey, address this, guys. You have to, seems pretty obvious, and you probably should apologize for your association. Because previously, Patrick Bet-David was actually asked about none other than yours truly. About, hey, CoffeeZilla, we did an interview with Patrick Bet-David where I confronted him on his MLM ties. That's, where he made a lot of his money. And he said that he was unafraid to answer, these questions, these key questions. Otherwise, why would he go on my show?
Of course. Do you think if I was worried about my business model, I would go on CoffeeZilla? What do you think?
Yes.
Do you think
yeah, I absolutely think that you would go on CoffeeZilla if you were worried about it. Because I'm not going to show it tonight because it's too long, but we'll do it tomorrow. Patrick Bet-David says this all the time. Do you think that I would go in front of somebody and I talked about it? Yeah, you would, because you have no choice. And he tries to explain it away, and every single time he tries to explain it away, he looks like an asshole. That's why he wears a 3-piece suit to make himself look like he's on the up and up. But this is what he does all the time. Do you think that I will go on the... No, yeah, you would, because you don't have any choice, because if you avoid it, then you're guilty. So you try to take it head on and try and explain it. And this is what he tries to do. Tries to explain it, but he looks like a scumbag.
It's not really capitalist.
Hang on a second. Do you think if I was worried about my business model, I would go on CoffeeZilla? They were actually very strong when they came back after me. We had a 2-hour conversation.
Yes.
We finished it. It was good to go. We moved on.
No, it wasn't good to go. You look completely fucking guilty. And so for him, this is another guy that you can't trust, and this is how they act. Oh, because I went on CoffeeZilla and I had the interview, that means I'm innocent and I did nothing wrong. That's how he carries himself.
There it is. He's not afraid to, answer the hard questions. Well, here's another hard question, I guess. Give the money back. In fact, Patrick Bet-David was even recently subpoenaed in this case. So it's very likely he's going to have to turn over the records anyways. It's very obvious that they're probably going to have to turn back the money. I think they just should take credit for it now. They eventually will likely have to do it anyways. But I think they need to go a step further and say, hey, here's how we're not going to let this happen in the future. Go into our Vault conference, our title sponsor. Here's how we're not going to allow a Ponzi scheme to be the title sponsor again. And ultimately, this guy needs to apologize. For a guy.
Yeah, that's right. Answered with a question instead of saying, yeah, absolutely. The way that my business, let me explain to you how my business worked. My business worked this way, blah, 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 not, and knock out. No, his response exactly, Carla, was to come back and answer it with a question. Do you think that if I had something, that's not answering the question. You're not explaining how it works. And he didn't do that with the CoffeeZilla interview either.
Dogged by, accusations about his MLM past, to then get $1 million from a Ponzi scheme, you can't just ignore that and pretend it didn't happen. You have to address it. You have to say, hey, if my name was used to get you into this Ponzi scheme, I apologize. Here's the due diligence we're going to do going forward. And let's be clear, you directly shilled this Goliath Ventures Inc., you even shouted out the website on your podcast. You got to apologize for all of that. I mean, that's the minimum.
How many people fell for the scheme because they trusted you? Not that they should have, but how many people did?
Can expect in a situation like this. I mean, to be clear, there's no evidence that Patrick Bet-David knew at the time he took this money that it was a Ponzi scheme. But also, if you just look at the business model for even half a second, it was obvious these things were unsustainable. So I think it was more of a case of how much was this really looked into? How much of Christopher Delgado's past was really looked at before accepting the money? And this is the problem, actually, that goes to a lot of these entrepreneurship conferences, right? They sell this audience, and who lines up in the doorway of a lot of these sponsorships? A lot of times, the people trying to get your money are not the most savory individuals, and the people running the events will often not take much accountability for it, which is actually a pretty insane business model.
That's what a lot of these conferences are. So even like Grant Cardone's 10X conference, he had Ty Lopez at his conference. Ty Lopez is now currently being investigated by the SEC for essentially running a Ponzi scheme himself, allegedly, where he took investors' money. If you don't know who Ty Lopez is, this is a guy who is very similar to a Patrick Bet-David in a way, but this is a guy from for a very long time was selling sales, would live in this mansion. He's famous for doing a commercial video on YouTube, here in my garage. And so he's standing in his garage, and there's a black Lamborghini in the background, and he says, you know what's important to me? It's not material things like this Lamborghini, but these books and knowledge. And then there's a meme that formed from the whole thing. So in his garage, he has a black Lamborghini, and he has a bunch of books and bookshelves in his garage. And so it became this meme. And from there on, he was one of the earlier adopters of Google AdWords or Google Ads, and spent millions of dollars on Google Ads to sell these courses online that a lot of people were like, these things are worthless, but he made a shit ton of money because he was the first in, best dressed when it came to that kind of stuff. And so so he ends up at a Grant Cardone conference, just like this Vault guy ends up as a title sponsor to a PBD conference. And these people spend thousands of dollars to go to these conferences to listen to somebody like Ty Lopez and Chris Delgado and these other people at these conferences. For what? What do you get out of it? You get nothing.
When you think about it, that you're basically being sold as a product to sponsors. But then if you actually look at the cost of just attending this Vault conference, it's not cheap. They're selling $16,000.
$17,000 for a ticket. And it's all, and those are the first ones almost sold out. It's unbelievable to me that he would spend the money to go to a Patrick Bet-David conference.
For tickets. And for the 2025 guys, they paid a lot of money and then got pitched by a Ponzi scheme in the middle of it as the title sponsor. So yeah, I think a payback and an apology is the minimum that can be done here.
And that's actually really an important thing to bring up, is that you go to a conference, you spend 17 grand on a ticket, and the guy that's the title sponsor is a Ponzi schemer. I should get my money back for being a ticket holder. Not only the people who invested money, who went in there and probably bought into that guy and invested money, but how about the people that spent that kind of money on plane tickets and tickets to the event and hotel and everything else so they could listen to a Ponzi schemer guy? But Patrick Bet-David doesn't care. Because once again, that's who these people are. And by the way, that's what YouTube and Google and Alphabet promote. This shitty platform that we're on right now. And by the way, those of you who are on here, be absolutely sure that you subscribe to my Rumble channel. So go to rumble.com/Dennis Hendrickson and be sure that you subscribe to me there. Not that those guys are any different, but YouTube is corrupt as it can possibly be. Google is corrupt. Google is now, by the way, involved in all of the mosquitoes that are going to be, they're trying to release mosquitoes, genetically modified, or bacteria modified mosquitoes in Florida and Texas. And they're a technology company. And they're trying to lobby the FDA to manufacture these mosquitoes to basically fly around and do whatever it is that they're trying to do. It's the most corrupt company on the planet. And that's what they, and so if you speak the truth politically and let people know what's really going on in the world, they ban you. But they let people like this, these scammers, have huge million subscriber, 2 million, 3 million, 5 million subscriber channels and basically steal from the viewers. That's how YouTube works, and that's how Google works.
I think it's just something they have to address. And if Patrick Bet-David says, hey, I've got nothing to hide, I'm going to talk to CoffeeZilla about my MLM business, I think he should talk about the Ponzi scheme that was the title sponsor. But so far, it's been radio silence on my end, so I just wanted to address this. I think it's despicable, obviously, what Chris Delgado did. But also there's a...
The problem is that Google is a monopoly. Alphabet's a monopoly. We don't use... but our judicial system is also corrupt. If we had a non-corrupt judicial system, that system would go in and break up Alphabet. They would separate the companies. They would break out Google. They would break out YouTube. They would chop them up into small companies like they did with Standard Oil. The problem is we have a corrupt justice system. It's a monopoly. Google is a monopoly, and they buy off politicians just like AIPAC in Israel buys off our politicians. It's no different. It's just a domestic company that has control over our politicians. And so we all suffer as a result of it. You have to come to the realization, by the way, that the United States is one of, and when we talk about third world countries and we talk about how horrible other countries are, you have to look at the United States and see how bad it really is. We've been sold a lie for a very long time that the United States is the good guy, and we're not. Because if we were the good guy, we wouldn't be involved in this Iran war. We'd be taking care of our citizens. We'd all have health care. Everybody would be able to afford a house. Google wouldn't be sending out millions of mosquitoes to infect us all with whatever it is that they've decided to build. They wouldn't give Patrick Bet-David and all these other scammers multi-million subscriber channels. Things in the world, it would be a lot better, and we wouldn't have the first time in 100 years more people wanting to leave the country, the United States, to go live somewhere else than we've had in the past 100 years. There are more people in the past 100 years that wanted to leave the country and go somewhere else because they've basically given up on the United States.
A lot of people who need to be looking in the mirror right now and saying, hey, how did we take this guy's money and what are we going to do to make it right?
Okay, so the next video, he finally, because I think Patrick Bet-David was trying to ignore CoffeeZilla, but then CoffeeZilla he released a video on YouTube. Patrick Bet-David saw it, I'm sure, and decided, oh, well, I guess I gotta call him. And so he's gonna use the same bullshit excuse like he did before. Do you think I would have had a problem if I was calling CoffeeZilla and had to talk to him about it? So what he's gonna do, this will show you the type of person Patrick Bet-David is. So this is a very interesting phone call, but it'll tell you who this guy is.
Hello, quick update. Patrick Bet David reached out to me shortly after I posted saying that he has to apologize. He should address the whole Christopher Delgado situation. That video.
It was only until CoffeeZilla released that video, by the way, until finally this guy had to. Oh, I better say something.
It was here. I uploaded it because I thought it is not going to make sense what we're talking about unless you have that context. He immediately DM'd me and said, hey, look, I want to call. So I'm posting this video immediately afterwards, unedited, because I want you guys to hear my call with Patrick Bet David. I addressed the apology. You know, you should apologize for taking this guy on, this Ponzi scheme. You promoted it. You'll hear me talk about the $1 million. Say, hey, can you commit right now to getting this money back to the victims of this scheme? And finally, I asked him, what he has to say to the, people who go to his Vault conference and want answers. Okay, just confirming that I'm recording starting now. This is Patrick Bet David. We're talking about the Vault conference sponsored the Goliath Ventures. Look, ultimately the big question is this. One, are you returning the $1 million paid to your consulting company back to the receivership, back to the victims? And two, I think, look, a lot of people got hurt in this. You were the number one, probably, credibility person in this. How does that feel? I mean, are you going to apologize? Are you going to address it, publicly? I think people want to know. People look to you, as this entrepreneurship guy. It is, frankly, a bad look.
Yeah, so first of all, you hate to see things like this. Hate to see things like this that happens. And every once in a while, this takes place. When an issue like this comes up.
What? Call just dropped? Bro? Hold on, let me call him back. Patrick, how's it going?
Okay, I'm good now. I'm in the backyard. Service is good. Go for it.
We're back. Okay, so just to recap the question.
He's in the backyard of his $25 million mansion in Miami.
You've got $1 million coming to you from Goliath Ventures. And first of all, I'd like to know where that's money's going. Secondly, a lot of people got hurt by this. You are the number one voice of credibility in all of this, kind of putting this guy on, so to speak. I mean, what do you have to say to people who lost money? I mean, do you apologize to them? What can you do to make it right? All these questions.
Yeah, so look, all valid questions. This is, typically when we do sponsorship, if you know anything about me, Stephen, I hate doing sponsorships. We stopped doing sponsorships on the podcast 2 years ago because of this exact reason. We literally stopped. It's probably cost us $15 to $20 million of sponsorship the last 2 years. The only place we've taken sponsorship money for, outside of the basic YouTube AdSense that you get, that you're accustomed to it as well, we do the events. So if I do a Vault conference.
By the way, CoffeeZilla will point out the fact that that's what he's saying right now is bullshit. Secondly, he's still, now if it were me and anybody else, you know what he would do? Immediately, or should do, is say, dude, yeah, I mean, we're going to give the money back, but we have to go through the proper channels. He didn't say that one time. He hasn't said that. It would be that if CoffeeZilla asked me, hey, Dad, what are you going to do with the money? I'm like, well, what do you think? I'm giving it right back. I got to follow the proper channels, do it the right way, because obviously we want to document it legally. But no, we don't plan on keeping that money. He doesn't say that one time. But do you see what Patrick Bet David is doing right now? He's trying to put a spin on it. Oh, just because of these types of things, we're not going to do sponsorships anymore. Well, why was Tony Robbins on your thing? Why was Martha Stewart on your thing? And there were a couple of other people that are on there. They're not sponsors. You don't have these other people that are on there that are sponsoring. And if you look at his videos, he's got sponsorships on there. But the first thing he starts doing is he starts spinning the whole thing. And that's why you have the look on CoffeeZilla's face, or Steven, whatever this guy's name is. Basically, because he's been through this before with Bet David, with the whole MLM thing. Because it's the same pattern. It's the same behavior pattern.
Friends, there's a moment for networking and people set up their booth. And so this guy came to the Vault conference for the last 4 years. And
4 years.
At the end of it, one of my reps comes up to.
So by the way, one of the last one was $1 million. So it's probably a lot more than just $1 million, by the way. And when I noticed, when I listened to this the first time, it was like, oh, he's been doing this for the past 4 years. And the last one was $1 million. So then it's probably more than $1 million that this guy's given Patrick Bet-David. And then he's also saying, well, he sets up a booth. The guy's the primary sponsor. It's one thing if somebody's setting a booth at your conference, but he's the primary sponsor at $1 million.
I've never spoken to him. We've seen him at the event, typically with everybody else. And he says he wants to be the title sponsor. Okay, great. He goes through the whole thing. We go through the background that our legal team does. Obviously, we make reference calls. We call others to see what they can say about him. And we call people that we had known for 10 plus years.
Nobody flagged him. Nobody flagged the 4 to 5% a year. Or a month, I'm sorry.
A month.
It's a fair question. It's the most disappointing thing. Not one person that's done business with him flagged him. Okay. And so then we say, great, let's go through the sponsorship. Now, when you do sponsorship, you have to deliver on stuff. So meaning we have to set up the booth. We have to set up all these different places where people walk up to them. These 20 by 30, 30 by 30, 40 by 40 booth that you create for them.
What does that have to do with anything?
Opportunity for people to go through. So we flew in. Typically when somebody becomes a sponsor, we fly in, we meet them in Vegas, and then we show them, or whatever hotel we're going to be at, and we'll say, hey, here's your location. You're the title sponsor. We're going to put it here. And then, their logo is going to be in different places, but it's not.
He's not answering the question. He's going about all the typical things that you would do if you have a conference. Not like, well, let's vet what it is your investment is. Let's take a look at what you're telling people that you can earn. None of that. He's just talking about the regular ancillary things that you would do by setting up a stupid booth. This is not, see what he's doing here? And then what he'll do is he'll tell you, well, I went on CoffeeZilla and I talked to Steven directly. Do you think that I wouldn't go and talk to him if I thought that this was a bad idea? That's what he does. That's what he does.
A endorsement. So it's not like I endorse. It's a sponsorship.
It does feel like an endorsement, though. You're
right. No, you're right. I agree. And by the way, again, we learn. So for us, we said we're going to do two, what do you call it? The Vault Conference is brought to you by Goliath. Okay, so we did that a couple times because that was part of the title sponsor. By the way, we've changed our entire title sponsor stuff that we're doing, where if it's not like a Fortune, 2000 company, we don't even want to entertain it. Because sometimes the best way is to make sure other investors have vetted them. And listen, in this space,
No, that's your job to vet whoever it was. And so now all of a sudden he's like, okay, well, it's got to be a Fortune 1000 company or 2000 company. So because we don't want to do our due diligence, because we didn't do our due diligence on somebody who was a title sponsor that gave us $1 million. So just because they're a Fortune whatever company, that means they're legit automatically.
A lot of risk in any of this space you get into.
Right, but he's the title sponsor. This is just last year. This isn't like 5 years ago.
No, you're right.
And it was three endorsements. At one point it sounded like an ad read. You're like, the 3 pillars or this. It read like ad copy the way you're reading it.
No, we never did endorsement. We said it's sponsored. And by the way, just so you know, there's certain things I can't talk about. There's certain things I can because we're cooperating with the federal authorities and we're having meetings with them. We're having conversations with them. All of this stuff will be public. We've learned a lot of things about
You've been subpoenaed, right? Like you have been subpoenaed, correct?
Of course, absolutely.
So are you going to turn the money over? That seems to be an important question.
That's the conversation we're in right now.
What are you talking about? That's the conversation we're in right now? No, the answer is, yeah, we're turning it over, but we have to follow the rules, whatever the federal authorities tell us how to do it. We're going to follow their direction. But yes, the idea is to give the money back. I mean, why is that a secret? Why? I love how people say, well, it's under investigation, so I can't talk about it. There's no rule that says you can't talk about it. They just say that for the sake of saying it. Because they don't want to talk about it. But there's no rule that says you can't talk about something. And this is one of those examples. It's an easy thing. Yes, we're going to give the money back, but we have to go through the proper channels. we're not going to take money from a bunch of investors. I mean, they've been through enough. We want to make it right as quickly as we can. But he doesn't do that.
And you will hear all about it when the decision is made.
Well, what decision? I feel like we could make a decision now and do a good thing,
Stephen, I know what you're doing. The part that you don't know about the way I do business, I don't avoid you. Meaning, if you and I did something together many years, I'm not a guy that's going to be sitting there running, avoiding. When we make mistakes, we'll call it out. When we do things that is right, great.
So Don, sue me for what? So you agree with Patrick Bet-David doing what he did? So please explain to me, because you want to hang out here and tell me that I'm full of shit. Tell me how I'm full of shit. Explain to me how I'm full of shit. Please be my guest. The floor is yours. Everything that I'm saying is absolutely 100% true, by the way.
Celebrated. This is not one of the things that we're celebrating. We're not happy about this.
So what's he going to do? Is he going to sue CoffeeZilla for bringing... I'm repeating everything that CoffeeZilla is saying. Every single thing that he's saying. And what am I accusing the guy of? I mean, I'm telling you exactly what he's doing, exactly what his behavior is, exactly what's happening. So, but please tell me how I'm full of shit. Please explain in detail how it is that I'm full of shit.
Doing a lot of things behind closed doors. The part that I'll give you one part that I think it's important to know, and for your audience to know.
You know what I hope? What I hope is that Patrick Bet-David gets sued by every single person that was involved with this guy at Vault Ventures and spent all of that money on all of those tickets and invested in that money and did it based on what Patrick Bet-David said to them. That's what I hope happens. I hope he gets sued. And I have a feeling that's going to happen. And I have a feeling the reason Patrick Bet-David is saying what he's doing or handling it the way he's handling it is because he has to be super careful right now. Because there's probably a lot of really pissed off people that want to sue him because he was the one who allowed this guy to be a title sponsor at his thing, did those ad reads, which he's now telling CoffeeZilla that he didn't do, but it's on video. I can tell you that if I were somebody who spent 17 grand on a ticket and I went to that conference and that guy was a title sponsor and I listened to him, I want my money back for that, number one. But then if I was an investor because he was a title sponsor, I would sue him too. I would sue Patrick Bet-David. %, I would sue him. And I certainly hope that finally, and then also the people that were involved in the MLM, that if they did truly believe that they were taken advantage of, that's their, they're the ones who can prove or not prove that. And once again, all of this stuff is public record. All of this stuff was addressed by CoffeeZilla. I'm not saying anything any different than what CoffeeZilla has already said and what people have already accused him of. But at some point, this guy needs to be exposed for who he is. Because he goes out there and says, oh, do you think that if I had a problem with what I was doing, that I wouldn't talk to CoffeeZilla? CoffeeZilla is just raking him over the coals right now. But finally, at some point, this guy needs to be held accountable for what he's done. There's no excuse at all to not vet this guy at an 8 to 10% monthly return and not look at that and go, whoa, dude, that doesn't exist. There's no notice that Dawn doesn't have we don't hear from Dawn anymore because Dawn can't explain it. I've dealt with a million of these types of people. They like to talk shit, but then when you have to back it up, you can't back it up, can you? That's why I'm here, and that's why you're texting.
The part that a lot of people they're concerned with, and I'm talking specifically the authorities, is the people that were working with them getting paid big money. Those are the ones that they're targeting in a big way. We've not, like, this wasn't you know how sometimes you do certain crypto deals and it's like, hey, affiliate, you're going to get this much money for this affiliate. Zero. We didn't accept nothing like that. So there isn't, hey, we're going to pay you an additional 10% on whatever that's done. Zero. We don't do business.
Right. You got paid but you got paid the million, right? And so
but $1 million has
and look, I'm not. I know it sounds like I'm trying to put you on the spot. I'm not. It just seems like you're gonna have to fork it over eventually for the receivership, anyways. Like, so many people lost money. It seems like an easy win, you know.
And that's the part where I'm in right now. You gotta respect that part that I'm going with. I gave you the respect of getting on a call with you and giving you the info.
See, he did this too in the other thing. I'm giving you the respect on getting on a call. No, he had to get on the call in order to do damage control, because CoffeeZilla gets millions of views per video. And as soon as he released this, Patrick Bet-David didn't want to, he was ignoring him. Obviously, it's on tape until that video was released. And then he realized, okay, I need to get with you and I need to talk. So now, because he's saying that he's talking to you, that I'm giving you, and this is what he does, I'm giving you the respect that I'm talking to you. So that means everything's okay. Everything's good. Everything's copacetic now, because I talked to you and I gave you the respect of getting on the phone with you and giving you a bunch of bullshit. And now all of a sudden it's like, hey, it's like somebody murdering someone and saying, hey, look, I talked to the police. I mean, the police, I went in and I talked to the police at the police station. Now I should go home now. Yeah, but you killed somebody. Yeah, but I talked to the police. Like, do you think that if I didn't talk to the police, then I'm guilty, but I'm not guilty if I talk to the police? Don't you understand? I mean, I went in and I talked to them, so I'm going to go home now. No, that's not how this shit works.
The information will come out.
No, I appreciate it. So you're not sure whether you're paying the money back yet or not. You're having those conversations.
But here's the other part that you also don't know. You don't know if we're doing other things with the conversations.
But there is no. I'm doing other things with the conversations. No, it's yes. The plan is to give the money back, of course, but we have to follow protocol. That's all you have to say. I don't think. I mean, this is speculation. I don't think he wants to give the money back because I don't think he believes he did anything wrong. That's my opinion. And, you know, I wouldn't, a guy like that, I wouldn't put it past him. But again, I can't prove that part. I can tell you what I would say, though, in that situation. I'd be like, look, this is already bad. I'm giving the money back. I'm going to do it how the authorities want me to give it back. But yeah, the plan is to give it back, but I don't think he wants to give it back.
With others, there's a lot of different things that we're doing that's not public. The only thing you know is the stuff that you're hearing.
Okay.
What we have to do right now is individually, as we're going through this, a matter of fact, I'll make a commitment to you. Once everything is finalized with this, you'll be the first phone call that I'll make to share with you, because over the years
he's done that too. And now what he does is he's buttering up Steven. He's like, look, you're going to be the first guy to that call, okay? You're a real good friend of mine. We've gone way back. You're my buddy. You've given me respect. I'm giving you respect. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to call you as soon as this thing is resolved. I'm going to call you and we're going to get it all straightened out. I'm going to tell you what happened.
Been fair to me, and I respect the fact that we have this relationship. I think you do a very good job. This was definitely not.
Yeah, see, with Steven, hopefully Steven understands that this is a tactic. He's trying to butter him up. He's trying to make him feel like, hey, I'm going to kiss your ass. And this works with a lot of people, unfortunately. Hey, I'm going to make you seem as if you're this wonderful guy. I've got so much respect for you. I don't give a shit what Patrick Bet-David thinks of me. I don't care how many millions of dollars you have. I could not care less of what that guy thinks, because I already know what I think of him.
Not a good look. We're not happy about this. ourselves. I take 100% of responsibility as the face of this company. And we have to get better next time. We just do.
Right. So obviously y'all are about to run the Vault Conference again. It might be a reasonable concern.
And
People.
guess what? You want to know something? We're about to run the Vault Conference again, and we don't have a title sponsor for this exact reason.
Because you were worried about it, or nobody coughed up the million?
Not because we don't have people that don't want to be titled.
Okay.
Not because we don't have people that don't want to be titled.
No, he doesn't have people. Here's my guess, again, an opinion. I believe that he doesn't have people in that Fortune 1000 or whatever that want to give the money. You know why? Because people like that or companies like that don't need that. They don't need his conference. It's people like the guy that runs the Vault and the companies that are not in the Fortune 1000, 2000, whatever it is. Those companies don't need that. That's my guess. My guess is, what do I need you for? Your Vault conference? First of all, who the fuck are you? And we're a company that, we're fine. But thanks. Thanks, but no thanks. So that's why a guy like him, and that's why like the Grant Cardone thing needs people like Ty Lopez. Or has Ty Lopez. And this is the thing that pisses me off. And people like this, Diane or whatever her freaking name is, Danielle, want to sit there and complain to me about me complaining about these people who get all the attention. And a guy like me who does things that are honest don't get any attention at all. And then what happens? A bunch of people go and give a bunch of money to a guy like this Chris Delgado guy, and he scams him out of $300 million. And I'm the bad guy. You hope I get sued by the guy who's running the scheme, or the guy who has the scheme guy as your title sponsor. I'm the bad guy. Fuck you.
Title, because as you run a company and you go through building a business, one of my previous companies you and I talked about, I sold it 4 years ago. You're gonna make a lot of business as an operator. You have to make adjustments and improve. You just do. And so for us, as we sat there with our team and our executive team, we said, what do we need to do for this not to happen again? Well, guess what? The criteria of becoming a title sponsor just became more difficult. And so it's not something that
it's just so ridiculous. A lot of money on
this event. This is not like an event that we do that is a small event. There's a lot of hard costs for the event. But it changed the guidelines. It changed the guidelines on who we're going with, and we'll entertain different levels of sponsors, but even right now, the lowest level of sponsorship, we're declining. I would say 50% of people that are wanting to become sponsors.
Okay, so you're adjusting the sponsorship guidelines after this kind of debacle.
Absolutely.
So you're thinking about.
So you just admitted that you screwed up and you didn't do your due diligence. And this is where CoffeeZilla catches them.
The 1 million, maybe not. You said you're having some other conversations. What about an apology? I know it's usually not that you're not the type, but I think given the context, you're the biggest name. I mean, like, I cannot overstate this guy. I talked to a lot of the victims in this case. A lot of people they come in. They see a big name like yours. It's just immediate trust, right? They say, "Hey, it's Patrick Bet-David. I know that guy. He wouldn't be at the Yankee Stadium with this guy if it was nothing. It wouldn't be the Vault title conference, guy." So, to those people, to the people who may have invested because they saw your name attached, what do you have to say to them?
I don't care.
Yeah, and again, fair question. This is what I'll tell you.
Not that, hey, I'm sorry, we screwed up. We didn't do our due diligence. It's not going to happen again. Like he just explained, but he'll never admit guilt.
When you and I become investors, and I'll call a guy that's a guy I respect a lot. He's a billionaire and he's done a lot of deals, and he'll introduce me to a deal, and I'll get into it and I'll put whatever, $5 million, $2 million, $500,000, $100,000. It doesn't go right. I'm the risk taker.
Do you hear that? If you take your money and you put it in an investment that somebody recommended, You're the risk taker, and if it goes bad, that's the way it goes. Here's the difference, though. The difference is if it's an investment that you make and everybody's doing it on the up and up, and the investment goes bad because of whatever economic reasons or legitimate reasons, that makes sense. But if it's a Ponzi scheme, that's a completely different story. This is exactly my point about Patrick Bet-David. He just said right here, hey, that's what happens when you invest in things. I mean, they could go sideways. Not, if it goes sideways, that's one thing. But if it's a Ponzi scheme, that's a completely different animal. It's a crime. Your money was essentially stolen. No, he doesn't differentiate between the two. That's what you're talking about here. That's who he is.
Okay, I'm the risk taker that chose to invest into that deal. The onus is with me, the individual that chose to take the risk.
That's unbelievable.
I took the risk of accepting this guy as the title sponsor. At that time, we didn't find anything. For me to apologize, it's apologizing for a mistake he made? No. What could we have done to find something else? There was nothing else to find what the guy was doing.
The whole pitch of Goliath was 3 to 5% a month. That's just unsustainable. You know that. I know that. Like, everybody knows 3 to 5% a month. That doesn't happen.
There are quite a few guys in the space that do that in a way that's worked for them, that are slightly more conservative.
No, there hasn't.
Again, for us,
so he's basically saying no, you're wrong. That is a realistic investment. That there are guys out there that have been able to do it. That's what he just said. 3 to 5% a year. If you own a shopping center, 3 to 5% a month in a liquidity pool. So if you add liquidity pool to the 3 to 5% a month, and I think in some cases, I think it was 8. He was saying 8. He's literally saying that, guys have been able to do that.
Us, when we're sitting down,
Who though? Who? I don't even know who. No, I don't think that's true.
Yeah,
I have to push back on that.
Not at a 3 to 5%, but this is not an abnormal model.
It's totally no. The pitch he was making was abnormal. When you actually looked at the pitch he was making, it was completely abnormal. It was not a normal hedge fund.
If you let me finish, I'll tell you my perspective.
Yeah.
This form is not abnormal. The numbers he chose was abnormal. I think the more now we think about it, what this guy was relying on is the following. This is my speculation, and you can take an angle with it or not. I think this guy was hoping that Bitcoin was going to go to $250,000 and he was going to get away with it, and it didn't. And it ended up,
That's still a Ponzi scheme. I mean, he even admitted that when he was like, "Well, I was hoping that if I kept getting more money, and that's what these guys do. If I get enough money, things are going to go in my direction." And he even said, Delgado said that in the interview, no one would have known about it. So basically what Patrick Bet-David is saying, he was probably hoping that this investment or whatever it was that he was doing was going to continue to go up, and no one would have known the wiser of what he was doing. So essentially what you're doing is you're admitting the fact that he was running a Ponzi scheme. That's what you're saying.
Put him in the situation he is right now for $328 million. This guy's going to be facing, many, many years of prison time. This is not a small little crime that he committed. So for us, if I were to tell you, hey, my guys knew and we investigated this and we knew everything about him and we did, I would apologize. We did not know.
I don't think you're apologizing because you knew. I think you're apologizing for not doing the due diligence that someone
which you admitted to not doing
of your stature.
I've already told you, Stephen. As a leader, the way I have gotten to where I'm at in my life right now is as a leader. I take responsibility for the decisions we've made, and we have to get better when it comes down to this. So we've made the adjustment ourselves as a company, and we've had many conversations with many of the people.
Well, I think that's true. A lot of people can't admit when they're wrong. I mean, the whole COVID thing is a perfect example of that. And I think a lot of people that are still in Trump's corner right now can't admit that they were bamboozled. I've been saying that now for weeks, that people cannot admit that they're wrong. I think that this is a little different in the sense that Patrick Bet-David is, in my opinion, incredibly arrogant. I think that that he still should be held accountable for the MLM thing that he ran, and people should know more about how that whole thing was run and how he ended up getting his money. People can determine on their own whether they think it's legit or not. But I think in this case, he doesn't want to give the money back. So if he says, I apologize, that basically says I admit guilt and I got to give the money back. And he doesn't want to do that. Because I think he believes that he deserves it, like you said. So, I think you're right for most people, but I think in this particular case, he just doesn't want to give the money up. And if he apologizes, he's admitting that. I mean, he already pretty much has. I mean, he's said, hey, look, we got to do better. We're not going to do this again, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you pretty much are saying you're admitting it. I don't know what else you can say. But I guess for him, doing the official apology thing means something different.
And trust me, it's been a lot of late night calls with a lot of different people as they're going through this. This is not a pretty situation, but there is nothing we could have done on our end. If this would have happened, this happens
there is.
A week before the vault, a day before the vault, a month before the vault. We're not even going through with this. But it happened months after the vault. And there wasn't anything that we could have looked at to say this was an issue. Again, remember, the part
I think you could have looked at his pitch deck. Hold on, I just want to go back a second. There's a few things you said. I don't want to go too far without addressing a few. So you said, look, I think he was betting on Bitcoin going up. I mean, that's not true. He was just taking in wires to Coinbase. Well, I'll tell you. I can tell you because I looked into it. So he was just taking in money to Coinbase and just paying out people. All his story about liquidity pools, all that wasn't true. It was just a straight up Ponzi scheme. You said, one thing you said is, look, I'm a leader. I have to own up to my mistakes. Sometimes owning up to your mistakes is just apologizing. Again, it's not a gotcha. I really want to give you the platform because this is the first time you're addressing it to just say, hey, look, I'm not saying that you knew that it was a Ponzi scheme. It was the returns were completely unrealistic. You said that yourself. I mean, if someone can't rely on you to do that due diligence, it's just kind of like you're kind of saying you messed up without saying it, though.
That's an unfair statement to make, but, you're doing your part and you're asking me the questions and I'm giving you my answer. And this is my answer to you.
Right.
Again, if I knew any of this stuff before, of course I have to apologize. If we knew and by the way, what's $1 million? Nothing to us.
So why not commit it though? But why not commit it back to the people who lost money?
Let me make my point. What I mean by this, the $1 million is spent for an event. If we knew a second before the event, this is what's going on.
See,
of course,
he doesn't want to give the money back. It doesn't mean anything to us. Okay, then give it back. Yeah, but if we knew beforehand, we would have given it back. He does not want to give it back.
Well, we didn't know, Stephen. It's that simple.
So it sounds to me, though, like you're like, hey, look, we spent the money on the event. Too bad, so sad to the people who lost all their money.
That's not what I'm saying. No, I sympathize with everybody. I've lost money. I don't get to...
See, it's all about Patrick Bet-David. I lost money. He doesn't care about the people who lost money in the investment thing. It circles, and this is the thing, and this is what a lot of people don't understand, is when you have people like this that get caught, and it's the same thing with Delgado. What does he do? The first thing he does is he wants to call attention to himself, So he has somebody from the news come over so we can interview him, so we can show off his $115,000, two of them, $115,000 Louis Vuitton pool tables, his Lamborghini, his Rolls Royce, and his multi-million-dollar house. Because that's who these people are. It's about me. It's all about me. It's not like, you know, I'm the victim here. And this is what Patrick Bet-David is saying now. It's like, well, wait a minute. No, that's not what I'm saying. But you have to understand, I lost money. It's about me. But it's about me, though. Yeah, but how about all these people that you told to invest and they spent all this money on the tickets and flew in tens of thousands of dollars just to attend your thing? And then God only knows how many hundreds of thousands potentially were lost, or millions, if they invested with the guy. Yeah, but you don't understand. I lost money. But no. But me, I lost money on this.
Where I'm at, without having lost money many.
Did you lose money with Chris Delgado?
I didn't invest too much money. None. And by the way, Stephen, remember this part as well. That this is very important for you to share with your audience. Value Trading got started since 2013. Okay, it's very important for you to know this. From 2013 till today, talk about we run a consulting firm. I have different companies that I'm running under my holding company. The Vault Conference, speaking fees that I get, everything that we do. How much money you think has gone in my personal pocket?
Oh, dude, this one's good. This one's really good. You got to listen to this one, because this is going to tell you everything you need to know about this guy. Because once again, it's all about woe is me. It's all about me. I'm the victim here. Listen to this. He's going to say, with all the things that we've done and the consulting that we've done and all the companies that I have, all of these things, how much money do you think I put in my pocket?
Meaning, how much money you think every year I've taken off the table, or I pay myself a salary from all my holding companies outside of the insurance company that I sold? What do you think the number is?
I don't see how this is relevant. You and I both know.
Because it's not. It's not relevant. And by the way, you could look up this mother effer's house in Miami, which is probably worth $30 million. Go ahead and look it up and see Patrick Bet-David's house. Oh, by the way, he's also part owner of the Yankees. You know he flies private. That's almost a guarantee. You know he's probably got a couple of Ferraris. I'm sure he's got Rolls Royces and Ferraris. But this guy is going to try and gaslight you into telling you that, hey, man, I don't make any money. I don't pay myself shit.
You and I both know the way you structure your wealth for tax purposes is a wide variety of ways. So if you tell me it's...
And he's talking right over Stephen. He's just going to keep talking right over Stephen because he knows, hey, now I'm losing the argument here. And so what I got to do now is I got to talk over you, and I've got to bully you and bully over you in the conversation now. I've got to take over the conversation. First, I know you're not buying any of the shit that I'm saying, but now I'm going to tell you that I don't pay myself any money, even though I'm a multi-millionaire. I'm absolutely filthy rich. Now I'm going to bowl over you in the conversation.
$0. Then it doesn't really...
Question, and I'm giving you the argument for this for you to know, because you said something, and I'm defending that position. Here's the position. Every year, no matter how much money the company makes, I've chosen to not take any money off the table, meaning none of this money comes back in my pocket. 100% of the money is reinvested in what we're doing. I don't take an income. So
that's,
it's not like I know
who gives a shit?
Like this is, you know what, you make the money. I didn't make the money. The money's in the business.
Yeah, but you own the business, though.
Yeah, you own the business. You probably pay yourself a salary. Plus, once again, this is a tactic. This guy, it's a tactic. He's trying to throw you off and say, hey, look, man, I'm not the bad guy. I don't pay myself anything. Yeah, but you live in a $30 million house, fly private, have a bunch of nice cars. This whole thing, like, what are you trying to convince us all here of?
You own the business, which has the money. But you and I both know. Look, I haven't.
Yeah, 16 concurrents and 517 views. Friday I had 32,000 views, several hundred concurrents. So what I was going to do is I was going to stop the stream and start over again. But like I said, it really doesn't make a difference because you know, like I said, you tell the truth, you go nowhere. But Patrick Bet David could sit here and this is my point. At least somebody like CoffeeZilla, and I have a lot of respect for this guy, at least he gets a ton of views. And at least he's championing for the little guy who gets taken advantage by these people. But yeah, no, I mean, this is unexplainable. And I think if I had stopped, and it's too late now, but if I had stopped the stream and started over again, it might have reset. But they're vanity numbers anyway. And like I said, I like hanging out with you guys. And I would watch this stuff anyway, but I like doing it and having people in here in the discussion. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Everything is a scam. The whole world is a scam. YouTube is a scam. It's run by scammers. Google and Alphabet are run by scammers. Wall Street's an entire scam. And all these guys that we're talking about here are, you know, I can't say outright. I mean, Delgado is obviously because he's been indicted. Patrick Bet David, I can't say, but I can say he's unsavory. And the things that, you know, he's involved with and all that type of stuff, I'm not accusing him of any crime, but at the same time, look, you know, you can just see for yourself how he's handling himself. This guy gets all the attention, right? Tai Lopez, I mean, it's a fact. He's under investigation with the SEC. Millions of views on YouTube. These guys, they get all the attention. So yeah, the whole world's a stage, but you know, I like to say it's not really even a stage; it's a scam. The whole world's a scam. Everything's a scam, and you have to do your best because there's nobody out there looking out for you at all. You have to look out for yourself because these guys like Patrick Bet David. Oh yeah, I'm going to take the guy's money. Oh well, I don't know. It's your. Oh, you lost money in a Ponzi scheme that I promoted. From a guy that I promoted on my thing. Yeah, but that's your fault because you should have known better in your investment. Because investment, you know, investments go bad, right? Yeah, no, I know investments go bad. Like that's fine, that's normal. It's not normal for an investment to be an absolute Ponzi scheme, and the guy's indicted for it. But you know, that's what we're dealing with.
I have an S corp as well, Patrick, and you know I can play this game. Oh, you know I took X. I didn't choose to take this from the business. A lot of those are just accounting structural reasons, or hey, you're reinvesting it in the business because you expect to make more in the future. To me, you gotta get to the point of look. Ultimately, the money that was paid to you. This is the critical thing that I just want to kind of ask you very directly about. The money that was paid to you was not Chris's money, okay? If it was Chris's money, I would understand. It was other people's money. I told you this at the beginning, Steve. He had stolen the money. It's stolen money you have, or your business, David Consulting has.
There's a part of this that I shared with you respectfully. I said, I have to go through certain conversations I'm having with them, and you're jumping the gun. And I said to you, there are certain things I cannot talk to you about. This is one of them. The moment we get through where we're at, you're the first phone call we're making.
I'd love to be.
To address the one question to you.
Yeah.
If we knew any information before, I wouldn't hesitate to apologize. But we didn't.
But you're...
When he just makes that statement, and we'll see how this plays out, because you can't, obviously don't have a crystal ball. But he's saying, if we had known before, we'd apologize. But he's purposefully saying, I'm not apologizing, and he's saying that for a reason, in my opinion. And that reason is he plans on not giving that money back because he believes that money belongs to him, And he just made it very clear, and in his own words, that those who invested that money should have known better, and that's how it goes. Not that it was stolen money like CoffeeZilla just said, that those people expected it to go into an actual investment. I don't believe that he wants to give this money back. And believe me, I'm going to be following this very closely, because this is the guy, as far as I'm concerned, you can't trust him as far as you can throw him, again, in my opinion.
Due diligence failed, and you recognize that. That's what you would apologize for. I'm not saying you're apologizing for knowing it's a Ponzi scheme.
I will gladly, I've already said to you, I man up on the mistake that we have to do a better job with due diligence.
Right, but you're manning up on the mistake. You're manning up on, hey, we got to do better. But you're stopping short of saying, hey, I apologize for not doing better before.
You're fairly a reasonable guy.
Yeah.
Do you think if I found anything, do you think this is worth it to me to go through this? Do you think it's worth?
See, this is the tactic that he uses. Just like, do you think that if I was guilty in what I did and how I ran my business, do you think that I would talk to CoffeeZilla? Do you think that I would be on the phone with you right now? I mean, in this one right here, do you think that I would want this, bring this on me, and do you think that I want to go through this? It's once again, it's always he's playing the victim all the time, and he throws you off like, "Hey, I'm not the guilty guy here. Look, I wouldn't be talking to you if I did something wrong. Do you think that I would? You think I want to put myself in this position?"
To me to have Steven on CoffeeZilla make a video, and I'm getting video saying, hey, what charity do you have that you're getting? You think it's worth it for me to do this? You think the juice is worth it? Like, you think if I knew this is who this guy was, I would have done this? What do you, Steven, respectfully, your opinion. Do you think if I knew this guy was fraud, I'd take the money from him? Your opinion.
I think there were insufficient, checks on this. And you agree with that.
Question, though,
See, this is the thing. It's like, no, you didn't do the due diligence, so that's not really the point now. What's done is done. You took the money. People were scammed out of the money. Now they want the money back. You don't want to give the money back. And now you want to make yourself the victim in this whole thing. So you want to go back and rewind as if somehow you knew that this whole thing was a scam to begin with. You just didn't do what you were supposed to do. You admitted that you didn't do what you were supposed to do. Now that we're here, you don't want to give the money back. You certainly don't want to apologize because you don't want to give the money back.
Right, they did. Now I know.
Yeah.
What I'm asking you is the question, and see if you can, at least I've been fair with you, see if you can be fair with me.
Sure.
Do you really think if I knew this guy is a criminal, I would have taken a penny from the guy? Give me the credit there at least.
Oh, sorry.
Do you think it?
Sorry. Sorry. My alarm just went off. Sorry about that. No, I don't. I don't think that if you had known, if you had known, you would have done it. I don't think you knew. I never said I thought you knew. I said, look, you promoted a guy multiple times, turns out to run a Ponzi scheme. I'd be so, and I sense you have some, kind of embarrassment. You don't like it, but I just don't understand why it's stopping short of, hey, it just seems like the full mea culpa is not there, and I just don't really understand why. It just seems like, hey, this is the platform to address it. Kind of just, it seems like you have plenty of money. Your company has plenty of money.
I already did address it with you. Yeah, this is going to end up costing me more than $1 million, just so you know that. This is not going to. I'm not winning here in any way. Okay, because of that reason of last year, I can't even take any sponsorship money for titles.
I'm the victim. He's still playing it. It's going to cost me more than $1 million now. Yeah, probably cost you more than $1 million because people are going to sue you for taking the money that didn't belong to Chris Delgado. But now you're going to be the victim. You're the. Hey, I'm. Forget about all these other people. You guys should be crying for me about this.
This year. So imagine how much it's cost me to take that guy last year and hire lawyers this year. This has not made my life any better. In no way. It's just become a lot of noise, and I don't like noise. So if
I think we should put it to bed. I think I think you should. I think there's a.
Yeah, but you decided not to do the due diligence. You decided to take people's stolen money. Now you have to deal with it and stop playing the victim.
A very clear path to putting this whole thing to bed, saying, hey, look, I've improved my policies going forward. We're going to make it tougher to be a title sponsor. I paid back the money, and I'm sorry to the people who invested. I mean, I feel it's kind of silly because I feel like in some ways I'm advocating for your fans who might have been there and invested. Really, it's not I don't think it was probably a lot of the people who watch me that probably were invested. I think it's your fans. That's kind of why I'm surprised the pushback.
And I appreciate that. Trust me, nobody cares about my fans more than I do. And I'm telling my fans that trust me. The people who don't, there's nothing I can do about them. But the people that have been with us for year after year after year, if they know why they keep coming back, is people trust us. The way we make decisions.
Yeah, I'll never understand why they keep coming back. And that's one of those things in life that I'll never figure out. I'll never figure it out.
If we knew anything a day before that this was going to happen, I would have never taken this money.
He keeps saying that again and again. If I had known before, I wouldn't have taken the money. And it's to throw you off the fact that he didn't pay attention to what this guy was offering because he wanted the $1 million for the title sponsorship. And now that it went sideways, he doesn't want to take any responsibility. So he keeps repeating the same thing again and again. It's just like Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. We got to keep saying that over and over again for you to drill it into your head that this is why your life sucks, because Israel told us that we have to do this because we're blackmailed. But then we're going to tell everybody Iran can't have a nuclear weapon.
Money, ever. And if I did, I would have, of course, apologized. But for me to apologize means I knew who he was and I did this. No.
Or you failed to do the due diligence.
Yeah.
We did the due diligence. The due diligence didn't show up any red flag for us to see.
Their business model made no sense. I mean, look. I'll be honest. Hey, let me be transparent about my backstory with this whole case, because maybe you.
So we did our due diligence and we didn't find anything. See, this is the thing. Yeah, but at the same time, he said earlier that we need to do a better job, and it's going to be more difficult for title sponsors, and the title sponsors have to be Fortune 1000 or whatever companies. So which one is it, Patrick? Which one is it? You say one thing, I'm not apologizing. We should have done due diligence. We're not going to do the same thing again. We learned our lesson. We need to do better. But we did our due diligence. We didn't see anything. We didn't find anything. So we're not guilty of anything.
The only thing I will tell you is I can continue this conversation. I literally just landed. I'm in my 3-piece suit. If you want to FaceTime me, sitting by the water. My kids are waiting for me to go in. It's my daughter's.
Wait a minute. He just said he's on a plane, but then he's in a 3-piece suit in the pool. Did I get that right?
Business model made no sense. I mean, look. I'll be honest. Hey, let me be transparent about my backstory with this whole case, because maybe you did.
The only thing I will tell you is I can continue this conversation. I literally just landed. I'm in my 3-piece suit. If you want to FaceTime me, sitting by the water. My kids are waiting for me to go in. It's my daughter's 10-year-old birthday yesterday, and I'm on the phone with you. So if you can keep it to 5 minutes, I'll go 5 minutes with you, and then please.
Yeah. 5 minutes. 5 minutes is fine.
Just got off my private jet. I'm in a 3-piece suit. What are you in a 3-piece suit for anyway? You're by the pool, waiting to go into the pool. Isn't that nice? Meanwhile, people don't have their life savings are gone. Not that I have a tremendous amount of sympathy for them, because they should have done their due diligence. That's what you're dealing with here. But people will knock down the doors to go to his conference. They'll knock down the doors to give him thousands of dollars of their money.
No, I'll just give you some backstory on this case, okay? So I got sent this case by somebody. It was very quick to understand, that this was a ridiculous Ponzi scheme, okay? This wasn't a complicated fraud. As soon as I got the, his marketing information, as soon as I got a hold of the pitch, it was very clear what they were doing. So that's why that part of it's failing for me. As far as you're saying, look, you can
have that opinion. And by the way, maybe next time we send a message to you and you bill me, so I don't have to deal with something like this. You think I want to deal with something?
That's another tactic, by the way. Let's make a joke. Oh, you're a smart guy. You're really smart, Steven. I'll send it over to you and you can check it out and I'll pay you because you're such a smart guy. That's another tactic that he uses to throw you off the scent, to disarm you, because he knows that where this is going, and he has no choice. He didn't want to be on this phone call, but he had no choice because CoffeeZilla, like I said, every single time he does a video, it goes into the million plus, and so he had no choice but to deal with this. And what does he do? He does the same thing that he did before when it came to the MLM shit.
You have this service. For me, I would send every one of my...
I think it's going to be $1 million. I think it's going to be $1 million. I'm joking. Look, no. So listen. To wrap. Look, I think you've addressed it in the way you want to address it. Final thoughts to you, Patrick. Looking back on this whole thing, I don't imagine you'll address it many more times. So, last opportunity to say what you want to say about Chris Delgado and its impact on you.
It's listen. It's so disappointing to say the least. Very disappointing to say the least. You would have thought this guy's doing the right thing and put us in a situation like this that we have to explain ourselves. And in life, I try to set the example for my kids to never put yourself in a situation that you have to explain a bad decision you made, do it more on the front end. And all we're doing right now is find a way for this to never happen again. And by the way, again, it's important for you to know this, Stephen. You're a guy that does proper due diligence. Go back and watch my last 2 years of podcasts. I don't know how long it's been. Maybe it's a little over 2 years. We've not taken a penny on sponsorship for 2 years on our podcast because this is exactly what I didn't want to deal with. Remember when, what is the SPF thing that happened with?
FTX.
Oh, FTX. Yeah, when the FTX thing happened and everybody was like, oh, he took 15 million. Oh, he took 3.5 million. Oh, he took this. I went to my guys. I said, guys, I don't want sponsorship money.
Yeah, wait till we get to the end because I'm pretty sure that CoffeeZilla proves that that's bullshit too.
And so our strategy changed where we said we're going to do sponsorship of products that we run because
you're worse than a Somalian scammer.
I'll take responsibility for product that I'm running because I'm the CEO.
Okay, quick question there though, because I'm looking at your show right now. It says Kalshi on your thing, the sports betting.
That's right. We don't take sponsorships. We don't take sponsorships because I don't want to deal with this anymore. And yet Kalshi's on there. And what is Kalshi, ladies and gentlemen?
Well, they do prediction markets, Kalshi /PBD. Are you guys partnered with them, and what's that about?
Well, remember, Kalshi is not my, what do you call it, title sponsor. They're a platinum sponsor.
It's comical. It's comical. Look at it. Look at his smile on his face.
For the Vol Conference. And remember what I told you. We said we're going Fortune 1000, Fortune 2000. I don't have a problem going with companies that have names, but I'm not going to go with companies that are not names. And Kalshi happens to be a company.
Okay, I was just misunderstanding it because you said you didn't do sponsors on your show.
No. Kalshi is a Vault sponsor that a part of it is the podcast. So if you come to the conference,
unbelievable,
you will see a massive booth for them.
Okay.
Because they're one of the platinum sponsors.
Okay.
And also remember the rule. There have to be an established company. They're an $11 billion company that's a well-known company out there in the marketplace. And
Kalshi is one of those companies like Polymarket. It's a gambling site. They got around the regulations because now they out of gambling because they're monitored by the SEC. So you just said they don't take sponsorship, but they take sponsorships, but they take sponsorship by basically a gambling site.
Me having a podcast that I'm always talking about politics, and we talk.
Are you into the gambling stuff? I mean, I don't want to go too long, but are you into the gambling? You push that now, or
I'm not? If you know my profile, I'm not a gambler. I'm not a guy that gambles. But these odds nowadays, they tell you more insight. You know, nowadays these poly markets and Kalshis are more effective than polls.
Well, you know, like 85% of their betting is sports gambling. You know that.
85% of their betting is
their volume. Sorry,
it's a form of a betting, but for us, it's more for the political side. It's more on the political side where you know they do. These companies are now doing stuff with CNN, with Fox, with others because it's politics. Everyone's, well, who do you think is going to win? We like I said to you, we don't look at polls anymore. Anyway, Stephen.
Okay, thank you.
Anyway, I can't keep defending myself anymore because I'm not defending myself. I'm looking more guilty, so I got to run.
Appreciate you, Patrick. Listen, you got on this on short notice. You appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay, bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
That was terrible. Tomorrow, if I go live tomorrow, I'll go over these other two videos. But yeah, this guy, and I'm the bad guy, right? But thanks for hanging out. We gone for 2 hours and 20 minutes. Fish, thanks for hanging out. Carla, Papa Gus, I think I've seen you before. You've been around. Carla, of course. With the super chats, I greatly appreciate it. Leah's probably gone because I think it's way late. But I appreciate you all hanging out. And yeah, we'll see what happens. I think I'll probably go live tomorrow around the same time. Yeah, he's a piece of work for sure. But like I said, the frustrating thing with these people is they have. And the not so well known guys like, you know, these QAnon dudes, they have hundreds of thousands of followers, and you know it's really it's nuts how loyal they are to them, and it's a shame. And I blame in a lot of these cases, I totally blame Google and YouTube and Alphabet. I think they're terrible organizations. They're not being held accountable for what they're doing. And the main reason why is we just don't have a justice system in this country anymore. That was really the backstop, the last thing that we had to hold people accountable. And we just don't have a justice system anymore. It's over. It really is, and I just don't see it getting any better, especially when we have someone who says they don't care about people and their finances, and they don't care about what happens in the midterm. So that pretty much tells you everything you need to hear. So, but those of you, Carla, Fish, Virtual, head over to Rumble. Make sure that you subscribe there, because if I do get nuked, at least I'll be over there, and I'll be live streaming over at Rumble. Until next time, have a great night. Thanks for hanging out.